So RRR is a historical epic coming out of foreign cinemas. It is a surprise it was not nominated for Best International Feature. It wasn't, right? Did I miss that? Uh,
No.
it is from director S.S. Rajamouli, and it is the coming together of a ton of really incredible talent from a part of the world you probably have not seen a lot of movies in. A lot of people have said RRR is a Bollywood feature. It actually isn't. I tried to do a little bit of research before this review to figure out what exactly it is, and it's one of like five sectors of Indian film, as I understand it. Specifically, this is from Telugu. That's the language it was originally shot in, and it features two of the biggest stars in film history from that side of the world, and this huge director from that corner of the globe who are coming together to make RRR. Stands for Rise Roar Revolt in English. Stands for a handful of things in other languages, but it fundamentally is a fictitious story about two legendary rebels, two warriors, right? Who managed to ignite a revolution against 1920s British imperialism when a young girl is kidnapped from her tribe. She is she is set upon to be rescued by the tribe's local. He's kind of
Protector.
protector. Yeah, his. I don't mean to say he's like Black Panther, but I'll get into it. Fundamentally, think of him kind of like Black Panther. But meanwhile, the British imperialists have an officer moving quickly through their ranks to become special officer, who is this incredible, fierce warrior. And the two of them meet, and they are destined to fight or become friends or be something big. This movement of the universe when the two of them come together. And after a bit of back and forth, ultimately they unite to inspire others and blow up a whole bunch of bad guys. The movie is RRR. It's currently available on Netflix in a variety of languages. Andy, what'd you think?
This movie's kind of insane. I'd heard lots of things about it, that it was just this big epic, this big ride, and it's crazy. It's got it all. It's inspired by things like, martial arts, wushu films, as well as it's got a couple of Bollywood numbers. It's a big epic tale. There's friendship, there's a love story, there's everything in the kitchen sink is in this movie. It gets a little slow in parts, but overall I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think RR is really good. It's definitely different, right? It's definitely different, and I think it might be a challenge to recommend. One, because it's not quite like American film. There are some notable differences, and two, it's really long. It is over 3 hours, which, like we talked about earlier, I think is a trend in that on that side of the world. Like big long epics, right? Like something really grand, big CGI, big musical numbers, dancing, singing, drama, action, romance. And he's right. RR has it all. And it's meant to be based on two actual people. Both of these revolutionaries were real, but they never met ever in history. And S.S. Rajamouli, when he was looking to make a new feature, thought, well, what if he kind of came across them in the history texts or whatever, what he's researching? He thought, well, what if these two did meet? What would that look like? What if these two guys, one who is like in the film at least, the amalgamation of like fire, passion, right? Met this other guy who is a leader from the woods, like from local tribes, like somebody
Water.
who's yes, water, right? Who's fluid, and what if the two of them met? What would happen? What would that do? Like, and that's the inspiration behind RRR. Our two leads are played brilliantly by two actors whose names I'm going to butcher, but they're worth mentioning. NT Rama Rao Jr. and Ram Charan Teja. They are fantastic as Beam and Rama or Raju. The two of them are really something else. The film, once it kind of gets going, it's a little slow to start. It opens with our young girl who is kidnapped from this colony from by British imperialists who are total jerks. They talk about the value of a bullet and why they shouldn't waste them on the locals, which is incredibly insulting. But after she's kidnapped, we're introduced quickly to Raju, who is a British soldier who has this really, really fantastic opening sequence where he wades through a crowd of hundreds of rebels, hundreds of men to arrest this one guy at the behest of the British leadership, which is crazy. Shows his power to everybody. This guy is not to be messed with. Doesn't even say a word. He's like Neo in the Matrix. Then we very quickly meet Beam, who is our kind of Black Panther-esque hero from the jungle. He is a animal lover. He's trying to chase and capture a tiger, which turns into him getting chased. Has this very fantastic scene where he captures the thing with these ropes and these hooks. It's amazing, and it's CGI you can see through, but like that's not what it's about, because RRR never, I don't think ever, winks at you sitting in your seat. It goes so hard where it needs to. Like it really leans all the way into what you're seeing. But even if you're not necessarily fooled, like you still are in the spirit of what's happening. From there, the two men meet, and then we get an incredible series of songs and action and drama and a little bit of rom-com. There's all kinds of things going on in this movie. And over the course of 3 hours, it feels like you're almost watching a series, which is crazy and also fits for the time because it's a lot and it's long.
Right. Part of what goes on is, you have Raju, he's an imperial officer looking to work his way up the ranks. And then Beam is the protector who goes to the city. I think it's in New Delhi, who goes to the city to rescue the girl, and they both kind of know about each other, and they, of course, like any kind of sitcom like that this has, they become best of friends not knowing who the other person is. And there's a great friendship song, friendship montage that goes on and on. It's really kind of hokey, but that's part of the charm of the movie. But of course, both of these people, these two men, have a kind of opposing ideals, and they're destined to discover each other's identity, discover what they're really doing in the city. But that takes a backseat to a love story that comes along, the trying to free this girl, along with like backstories of each character and taking on British imperialism. So much going on.
One of the things I think is really cool about this movie is how practical a lot of it feels. I did mention the CGI tiger, and there's definitely some CGI enhancement happening in this movie, but there's also a lot of kung fu wires, right? And characters doing like these crazy, like unrealistic leaps through the air. Our heroes, when Raju fires a bow and arrow, he never misses once ever. Like it's always perfect. The music is always huge and grand, and the lyrics, like Andy said, are literally telling you like these two are the best of friends ever. Look how great of friends they are. What's going to happen when they find out what's going on with the other one? We'll just have to wait and see. Like it's so on the nose, like because it never wants you to get out of this idea that what you are seeing is like the biggest, grandest amalgamation possible. And like it's funny because on the one hand, it can feel a little hokey, I think, because it's different. But on the other hand, I kept thinking of when I was watching these movies that are supposed to be big and grand, like Black Adam, right? Movies that are supposed to be like the biggest thing ever. That just seems so small in comparison to what's happening here, because there's just so much passion and energy channeled into nearly every scene, at least in the action. I will say it does sag a bit in the drama for me. The rom-com stuff slowed it down significantly. But it's
Yeah.
gotta, like
Oh
any movie, you
gosh.
gotta have pacing. You gotta have ups and downs.
Yeah. You have two really huge opening scenes, and like I said, once they both are in the city and they become friends, eventually there's this meet cute and this like I said, rom-com air thing that goes on for a pretty long time, which ends up leading to this big musical number, which the song Not To has now been nominated for. Fantastic sequence. It's the only like big Bollywood dance sequence in the whole film, and it's like like these guys can do everything. Like they already do all the stunts and the acting, and then they can also do these incredible dance numbers. And Zach and I were watching and thinking, Chris Evans could never, Ryan Gosling could never,
No.
like Emma Stone, like, and these actors have tried to do these things, but it's like these guys are on a whole nother level. They've clearly been doing the dance part of this their whole lives.
Yeah, like the talent on screen here is genuinely stunning. Like, not only are these two managed to like managing to capture like smoldering tone of like an action hero who's like, you know, upset about the way things are or is shooting somebody or fighting somebody. They also managed to get like the raw emotion of feeling love for one another, both platonically and in their friendship for each other, and also like people they pine after, this young girl they're trying to save. They also are singing full songs, right? Not boning it in. We're not really even auto tuning it. It's pretty much just them. Full dancing, which is crazy. Stunts, stunt work. I mean, it's wild, like how much these guys are able to do, and I'm wildly impressed.
Yeah.
Again, apparently they are huge talent, and these are people who Andy and I have not heard of. Part of the reason this movie's called RRR is actually supposed to be representative of the working script title, which was the initials of each of our people, our director and our two lead actors. And that's part of the reason it stuck, because no movie, reportedly, they've never all been together in a feature because no movie could afford them. And
Yeah.
like, this is the first time they've been able to rally and put together like these three incredible talents. Talent's so big, by the way, the director makes a cameo appearance in the final final musical number, also a really big one. And people apparently lost their minds when he showed up. Like, the director shows up in the feature, and it was like a huge deal. You know, like nowadays it'd be a cheesy cameo nobody would care about, at least here in the States. But good Lord, in RRR, anything is possible.
Yeah, this movie has so much energy, and it's definitely inspired. Like I said, it's inspired by kung fu wushu films, but also just by superhero films themselves. But there's just so much energy and action, and I was like, Marvel could take some notes on getting some hype. DC could take some notes on getting energy, and some of these action sequences. They're just so over the top. Like I said, there are some parts where it gets a little long and slow. You get some backstory, felt flashbacks that happen pretty late in the film. That actually works for me. The thing that works the least for me is like the romance plot. It's just so it's very like Friends level rom-com, but that's kind of the only thing that doesn't work.
Yeah, like there's definitely some struggle in there. Like I said, any film's got to have pacing, right? You got to have ups and downs, but I think the drama is where this movie, I don't know. It's a little cliche, right? Like Andy said, your opening musical number, they're explaining to you that like these guys are going to be friends, but they don't know anything about each other, and it's like it's just kind of goofy. One of them, like Raju, is like walking around with like a wanted poster with like a sketch of his suspect's face on it, which is his friend, and he's asking everybody in town, "Do you know this guy?" And the cat, like right next to him, is the guy. It's like something on a Looney Tunes. Like, can't figure out that it's Bugs Bunny in disguise. Like, and meanwhile, Beam like knows that there is like this there's somebody who's on to them, right? And they have to evade detection because they don't want to be caught in their plan to get this girl back from this wealthy aristocracy with this whole palace they got to break into, and this fantastic action sequence you get to about halfway through the feature. But he doesn't know who it is, and he has no idea that like it's his friend right there. That's the guy. Like, so it hurts a little bit because you know that stuff isn't really going anywhere. But I think you really get some good surprise in the second half of it when we get a bit of a turn for both of our characters. Beam is displaced, I should say, from his position, and he ends up having to go through a lot of like genuine hardship that Raju is often putting him through, because the two of them are fundamentally opposed to each other, even though they do love one another
Fire and water,
enough.
baby.
Enough to die for each other, like huge deal, right? Tons of chemistry, and meanwhile, like Raju has to like come to terms with like what his goals fundamentally are, right? And why is he actually working so hard on behalf of the imperialists? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's really like a treat to kind of find out why that is. Like I said, I'm impressed at just how big this movie gets to feel, like from otherwise like a place I wouldn't expect something so large. I'd expect this from DC. I'd expect this from Marvel. Yeah, and like RRR makes it look effortless. God, they make it look easy to do something so much larger.
So one thing just an aside that I just notice reading. So there's a character played named Catherine Buxton, who she's like the governor's wife in the film. She's played by Allison Doody, who is none other than Elsa from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So
Yes.
Elsa is in this movie. I can't believe it. But yeah, there's so much energy this movie, and the stuff it gets right, it gets really, really right, and it's just that's why you want to watch movies outside of the States, is to see how other countries do them, the way that they tell stories, the way that they create energy and hype and pacing and all those films, things that we know here, but just from a completely different perspective, and it's a completely different kind of ride that you go on.
Yeah. Overall, I think like RRR is something really special. Like I said at the open, I don't know who really to recommend it to. We'll get to recommendations in just a second, but just to kind of, I don't know, wrap this back around. Like, I'm really glad we had the opportunity to get together and watch this. I have heard some frustrations about its availability. It's worth mentioning. RR is only available in Hindi. It's available in English as well, and a few other dubs. Netflix has subs accordingly for Chinese, English, French, Spanish, even. It is not available in Telugu, which apparently frustrated even director SS Rajamouli, who's very verbally said he thinks it sucks that Netflix doesn't have it available in its original language. We do too. Andy and I were watching it. We're like, man, it's a bummer. We still technically have to watch a dub. Like you're still hearing like different voices over our characters, but like even still, like I think it's something really cool. And it's one of these rare instances where like, man, Netflix managed to grab a tiger by the tail. They've got something really special here, and I'm excited to, I don't know, talk more about it and tell people I think it's worth their time. But before we get there, Andy, any other thoughts or recommendations?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend RRR?
Yeah, I absolutely would. It's such a fun ride. It's got, like I said, a very kind of universal, basic story about anti-imperialism and friendship and, love story. All those great things that we know about uh, filmmaking. And it's just such an incredible and different experience from anything that's made here in the States. The action is incredible. The acting itself, they have to do a range from comedy to drama and everything in between. The dance numbers are phenomenal. The only thing I would say is that it's a little long, and there are some very clear breaks at the film, which apparently is for an intermission, which would have been nice to know. But watch it in maybe 2 or 3 chunks. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, RR is something really special. I think more people should watch it. I think this movie broadens horizons, and it is an incredible high watermark for what's possible. Like, and I'm sure there's things that are even better out there. This is just this is a part of the world I don't get to see a lot of movies from. So not only is it special to have seen this, like it's special to see like what else could be out there, and I'd be interested in watching more. Like I think it's really cool. I definitely need to go keep an eye on SS Rajamouli and these two guys. They're both fantastic. Andy's right. Also worth mentioning, this movie does have an intermission. It is not really in the Netflix version. There's a title card with no text on it, fades to black, hangs for 10 seconds, and then comes back. We just thought it was a weird break. Apparently, this movie is so celebrated. Not only are people singing and dancing in the aisles for it, Edgar Wright, a director who praised the feature, said that people even clap for the intermission card, something he's never seen before in the theater. Everything is cool about this movie. It's really rad. I'm with Andy. Watch it in parts. You are watching on Netflix. You have the ability to watch it in parts. I do think you should take it one bit at a time. But like, it is a really cool feature, and I'm glad we got to talk about it here on the show. And speaking of talking about movies, Andy, what are we talking about next week?